All right. Hi, everyone.
Okay. Hello, everyone. This is Crandall Jones, Municipal Administrator of Norristown. So this is, I think, the second live video chat I've ever done. So pardon me if we get some things wrong here as I work my way through the technical pieces of this. But for those of you who are joining, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to spend some time with us. Certainly looking forward to any questions, comments you have, and certainly try to respond as best I can to share information with you about what's going on in Norristown. I think I certainly want to start by saying I hope that everyone is being safe and practicing all of the appropriate measures to stay safe in this age of COVID 19, masking, social distancing, doing the things that you need to do, actually making sure that if you're showing any of these symptoms, that you're having yourself checked out and you're protecting yourselves, your family, and other folks by following CDC recommended guidelines. I'll also add that if you want to have any misinformation about what's happening as it relates to COVID-19 in Norristown, that you go to our website. We have tons of information. We have a hub on our website, COVID-19 Hub, that has all the information that you need in terms of what's happening here, things that we're doing, the things that the governor is doing, the things that the county is doing. So vital information. What you should know if you don't is that in Montgomery County, Norristown remains the community with the highest number of cases of COVID in the county, and so we need to make sure we're doing the things that we need to do to protect each other and protect our families and children in these difficult times. So please, by all means, wear a mask. By all means, practice social distancing. Sanitize your hands as often as you can, making sure that we tamp this down. We have some unique challenges in Norristown because we're such a densely populated community and we're so small. A lot of times, as I'm talking to folks around the county and around the state about what's going on here, you know, social distancing is a challenge here because if you're, 40,000 plus people and you're packed into 3.5 square miles, it's actually very, very hard to social distance. But please practice as much safety protocol as you can in doing this. Some information about what's happening in terms of the city itself. And effective July 1st, we did begin limited operations, and we have all the protocols. So unless you have on a mask, you cannot come inside the building and be served. Uh, uh, we are practicing social distancing inside the building. We have all of the necessary markers. There's a limited number of folks who can come in the building. At a time, we do have a kiosk at the front entrance of the building, an automatic temperature taker. So when you walk inside Municipal Hall, there's a little machine right at the front door that you will just stand, let it scan you real quickly, take your temperature. It will alert you if your temperature is above the recommended levels. And again, if it is, we definitely can't serve you. We recommend that you go get tested to make sure that everything is okay. We do have a person at the door as well that can assist you and give you some directions in terms of how to move about the building and walk you through the process of getting checked in. So, with that said, there's lots of stuff going on in the city. I'll share with you some things. I know folks are interested in the state hospital project. That project is still very much going on. The conveyance of land, they've pretty much completed all of the surveying that was going on related to that project. Once the surveying was done, what was determined is that the amount of property actually that's being conveyed, and is certainly the exact amount of property that's represented in the study was done, rather than 78 acres, it's actually about 68 acres, and it is the same exact footprint that council agreed to. That 68 acres, the conveyance is still happening, certainly thanks to Representative Matt Bradford, Senator Dalen Leach, in terms of their efforts on behalf of the municipality to move the process through the state assembly. That process is an ongoing process. My team and I have been working with the State Department of General Services and Department of Health Services to work through the conveyance process. We're expecting that at some point during end of August, September, that a contractor for demolition services will have been chosen, and then there will be generally some kind of assessment work going on for the rest of the year in terms of making separation of the underground utilities out at the state hospital. And we should expect sometime either late spring, early summer of 2021, where you'll actually start seeing some demolition work going on and site remediation work going on at the state hospital as the conveyance is prepared. And again, the conveyance is scheduled to happen, the formal conveyance is scheduled to happen around summer of 2022. And so we're excited about that. The municipal council has authorized us to put together a request for proposals for a master developer for that site, and we continue to do that work in anticipation of the conveyance. I know there's a lot of folks who have in their mind about the council's vote to monetize and sell the sewer authority. That process is underway. It's going to take approximately a year to get through all of the steps of the PUC process to the Public Utilities Commission process to actually consummate the sale. I know that there were a number of items that council had in terms of possible use of the proceeds. If you want to see that information, the presentation about those potential uses are on our website on a PowerPoint that outlines those potential uses. And one of the things that will happen over the course of the next year is that council will sponsor a series of town hall workshops to get public input about those potential uses of funds. Some of those things include establishing for lack of a better word, a trust fund that would stabilize utility rates for a period of time, establishing a trust that would stabilize tax rates for a period of time. And that period of time, I know in other communities that have done it, is those trust funds have lasted 20 plus or so years. So we're certainly looking at doing things like that. I know maybe reduction of EIT is one of the considerations. And all of these things are really designed to give relief to Norristown taxpayers, while at the same time making sure that this sewer system is upgraded in terms of pipes in the ground, and that we are poised for redevelopment. There are lots of other ideas. I know council is very, very much interested in investing in recreation and leisure services for the community, making sure that the quality of life of the community is improved in a number of ways. So we will be, over the course of the next few months, starting some discussions in the community to get some input. And sometime next year, probably spring, summer, right around the time before the actual finalization of all of the closure process, and the council will have adopted a plan for the use of the funds. But one of the things I want to assure everyone is that this is not a feeding frenzy in terms of a spending spree. Funds will be leveraged, and they'll be leveraged for legacy purposes, so that the benefit to the community, both in terms of impact on taxpayers, quality of life, are things that'll be taken care of for many years to come. So there's a way to do this that is not and a full-out expenditure of all of the funds, as some folks are saying. So just stay tuned. Lots of information to come out about that. Um, it's it's um, it's an exciting time in Norristown. I know the county's uh, redevelopment project for the Justice Center is very much underway. We're in discussions with the county constantly in terms of what's happening with that project. And I know we're going through a lot of the permitting discussions right now. For those of you who didn't know, early in the year, the municipal council authorized acquisition of the piece of property, vacant property at the corner of DeKalb and Main Street, which is a prime piece of property for redevelopment. And we wanted site control of that property so that we could make sure that while the county is developing right up to that parking lot, we actually share, but the county's property. They bought the Wells Fargo Bank, a part of that parking lot. Part of it belongs to the municipality now. And we're putting out an RFP for master development of that site as well. The municipal council is still, through a grant we received, a series of grants, but a second grant we received, the Riverfront Redevelopment. We've been doing phase one, phase two assessments of properties along the riverfront to help spur that development, which is one of the reasons it's so important to invest in sewer and utility work in the town. As you see, there's a lot of work going on between PICO and PA American Water as far as their utilities in the town. I think everybody anticipates and recognizes that Norristown is definitely that next thing in terms of redevelopment. Markley Street, we're getting ready. I'm sorry, Lafayette Street. We're getting ready to go through the punch list with the county and with PennDOT in terms of the Lafayette Street project to make sure that that thing is tied up because the connection to what will be the Lafayette Street uh, interchange for the turnpike is fully funded, which again creates another level of excitement about what's getting ready to happen in Norristown. Uh, so we have a number of things going on. City Hall project is underway. So around the end of August, September, you should start seeing some construction work happening on the east end of City Hall, where we're going to make an addition to the City Hall building for the police department. Uh, then that will take about 6 months or so in December, and there'll be word that's going to get out of here. We're looking to uh, all of the non-police administrative staff is going to vacate City Hall while this renovation project is going on. It's a $13 million renovation project, much needed. We are having systems failure in the building. Latest one actually happened last week. So we had our second pipe burst and second flooding of the building. And for those of you who frequent this building, it's been a challenge in terms of access to the building, but all along, even before COVID, because of problems we're having with the building. So this project will remedy that. We will be out of the building for about 18 months while the renovation goes on. Lots more information about that and where we'll be once we tie up those negotiations. So lots of things that are going on in the municipality. I know that there are a lot of questions that folks have already sent in. So I'll look at those questions and see if there's something I can respond to. So I have a question: why so many fireworks the whole night, every night? One of the challenges for all Pennsylvania municipalities, and especially ones like ours, was that legislature passed, the state assembly passed legislation that allowed the sale of fireworks and the sale of fireworks in a lot of communities through kiosk operations. Most communities were against that. We lobbied on, or at least the Pennsylvania Municipal League, PSAB, and other organizations lobbied on our behalf and on behalf of many cities for that not to happen. When you're in a city like Norristown, especially as dense as it is, it can be very, very dangerous that fireworks are going off. There are laws about in this town and in the state related to distancing about fireworks. Folks are just violating the law, and it's very, very difficult for police because it's very difficult to catch people in the act. When we get a call, we respond to that call. I know we made an arrest or two during the Fourth of July celebration weekend, but it's very difficult. People are on their property; they're doing it in their yards, even though the law requires that there be significant. I think it's 150 feet minimum distance from another structure, which is very difficult to achieve in Norristown. But folks are doing it anyway, and it's a real challenge, and we keep battling it through trying to get the state to re-examine the legislation around fireworks. And certainly if you know someone is doing it and you let the police knows and it happens while they're doing it, folks are being fined and cited for it to try to stop it. Um, if there, I see a case about people, restaurants serving food with positive COVID actively working. Again, if folks let the county know, the county health department, certainly you let our police know if there's any violations of regulations and rules related to COVID. It just let the authorities know, the county health department, let our police know. We'll reach out to them as well to address the issue. But people have to let us know that those things are happening. Um, Let me see. I'm going to scroll down and see what other questions there are. Okay. Is that man replying to questions in this post from his Facebook page as he did the previous 6 years? So this is the first video feed that we're doing. Um, so I am the same guy who has been doing this Facebook post, and I'll continue to do it. I might probably go back to the typing one because it's easier for me to see the questions and probably respond more quickly. Um, County needs more small businesses. It's hard to get any information about starting one here, and they fail to offer grants. Actually, one of the things I'll recommend that anybody who's interested in starting a small business, and it's a process. Uh, we have and have had the municipality of Norristown has had a small business assistance center for quite some time. Council has invested in that for years, and there have been a number of businesses where we've helped with startups, we've helped with expansions through that process. But it is a process, so it's not. I know a lot of folks will reach out to us and say, "Hey, I need $10,000 to start a business." Well, we don't say, "Okay, here's a check for $10,000." That's obviously a process you go through where we have to evaluate. Uh, uh, Strategically, are you ready to start a small business? Go through a process of assessing your finances, your ability to actually undertake the business, of having a business plan in place. We're going to want to know things about taxes and a strategy and and that you really, really are ready to do it. And if you go through that gauntlet, and we'll actually through the Small Business Assistance Center take you through that process, make that assessment, and if you successfully go through that, there have been loans, there have been grants that the municipality has given. There's been loans that the SBAC, Small Business Assistance Center, has given over the years. Done a phenomenal job of working with the municipality as a contractor to the municipality uh, to, um, to provide assistance to small businesses. So I would definitely suggest you check out our website or come down to Municipal Hall or call and make an appointment. We can do that online now. Certainly have a conversation with our Planning and Development Department, Jane Masonier and her team, and they can definitely assist you with small businesses. We work with the county, we work with the Redevelopment Authority, which is an independent agency within the county to do that. And we can, there are many ways to assist a person who is seriously interested in doing it to do business in town. Playground updates. Okay, so right now, and I think we have it on this agenda for the next council meeting, and it'll be a virtual council meeting. It'll be next Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. We'll have our regular council work session. On that agenda is a request for council to approve the procurement of equipment for I think 4 or 5 additional playgrounds. So council is definitely making an investment in playgrounds. We have done we've made some updates, and we're doing others. I know that we're looking at, again, part of what council is looking at in terms of proceeds from the sale of that authority of the sewer authority is investing in recreation and equipment as well. But we already, through our regular CIP program, have that. So there's about almost $200,000 worth of equipment installation and procurement and installation that's going to be on the agenda for the next council meeting. As far as the ability to use our playgrounds, as you all know, the governor did relax the standards for gatherings, but we asked that those gatherings be limited. I think no more than 10 folks in a group. So we are starting to open our facilities. I suggest you contact Erica Gennardi and Kevin, our PIO, who is on this call as well, monitoring. He can put out the information to share with everybody in terms of how to reach the rec center and find out specifically what's going on. Next item I had was better street cleaning efforts. Obviously, during the time of COVID, street cleaning has been a challenge, as so many folks have been out of work due to closures. That it's been very, very difficult to clean the streets. Now, what we were doing, we did have a modified program so that where we could, we swept the streets with street sweeping machine. Where we couldn't, we actually had folks walking between cars to pick up trash and keep the streets clean. One of the challenges about this, and I always say this in terms of talking to folks about cleaning, street cleaning is a behavior issue as much as it is an issue that we pay attention to as a municipal service. Obviously, nobody in the municipality that works for the municipality certainly is throwing trash on the streets. I mean, and I think we as a community, and certainly even folks who pass through our community, have to be more cognizant of not throwing trash in the streets. But we're certainly doing our part. We've actually, now that we've begun our modified operations and opened up City Hall, we've gone back to our regular street sweeping schedules. If there are problem areas, people are dumping that you know about, and that's happening, we ask that you let us know. Call the Public Works Department. Again, Kevin, our PIO, can get that information and put it out as a part of this thread. Let us know, and we pay attention to areas when folks are pointing out that there's some particular problems or some particular offenders. But a large part of this is folks taking the initiative to make sure that we don't throw trash on the street. I mean, keep the town clean is something that's very important for us. That's why council authorized us to create a couple of years ago, Keep Norristown Beautiful, which is, I think, the first Montgomery County affiliate of Keep Norristown Beautiful and one of the few in the state of Keep America Beautiful and one of the few affiliates of Keep America Beautiful in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So it's very much a focus, but that's a behavior-based issue in terms of keeping town clean. So it's not just our job to clean the streets, which we will do, and to keep the town clean, but it's everybody's job to make sure we don't put it down in the first place. So we'd appreciate any help that folks can give us in terms of talking to folks, in terms of pointing out problem areas. We're constantly doing that and trying to do it. But we are back onto a regular street cleaning process. Still going to be challenging because there's still people who are out of work and more people are home, related to all of the challenges around COVID, whether it be school closures and other things where people necessarily have to be home. Uh, to take care of kids, and so there are more cars that are actually parked on the street. So it does make for a challenge. So I got a note about dumping of construction materials on the sides of houses. Who to call? Uh, when you got that got dumping, call our codes department. Kevin, please put that on this call as well, or get the number in front of me, and I'll make sure that we put that information out. But call the codes department, call our public works department if there's something out there dumped. We are citing people. We are finding people. Understand this about the whole process, because a lot of folks complain about how they call and it doesn't seem like anything happens. Well, our part of the process is this. Once we get a call and respond to a call, or once we notice and respond to that notice and issue a citation, by law, by state law, folks have a period in time in which they have to have the opportunity to respond. If they don't respond by that time, the citation will then end up uh, uh, with the district magistrate, district judges, where they will hear the case. And while we issue the citations, uh, we do not we do not manage the actual finding or the judiciary process. That's in the magistrate's hands. So we will go when there's a case that's prosecuted. We will go and defend our position in terms of the citation. The district judges who do a good job of working with the municipality, they will make a decision around what's supposed to happen with that violator. Sometimes that violator is given more time. Sometimes that violator is given a fine. Sometimes that fine may be waived or reduced. It just kind of depends on the specifics of the case and the determination of the judge. And once that judge makes a decision, the property owner, which is typically the judge will say, clean the property up, whatever they do, and the property owner has a time period in which to do that. So we don't have an ability to immediately make a person respond by law. We have to follow that process. But call our codes department, call our public works department. Kevin, would you give me the number of the codes department and the public works department so that I could share that with them in terms of what's going on. So, but that's what's happening, and I'll give you that number in a few minutes. Um, More information about Riverfront Development. So, a couple of things. The municipality, and we're talking about Riverfront in downtown Norristown, those properties. Municipality has been trying for quite many years. I mean, I know it's over a couple of decades to work with property owners along the riverfront to make those properties more viable for redevelopment. Over the last few years, as a result of a couple of grants that the municipality received. One, the first one for $800,000, the second grant for about 1.1, $1.2 million. The municipality has undertaken, got a consulting firm and undertaken doing phase one and phase two assessments of properties along the riverfront to really understand what's going on in terms of any potential environmental issues on those properties. And for folks to understand, one of the things that has to be known in order to attract redevelopment of those sites, and I know those property owners want their sites redevelopment, is to understand actually what's going on with the property. So these assessments that we're done are at no cost to the property owners. We've offered these assessments over the last 2 or 3 years. A lot of property owners have taken advantage of that. Some haven't yet taken advantage of that. And it really paints a picture. If it's a phase one, it paints a certain level of here's what's going on with the property so that interested developers can see that and know what it is they're getting into. The phase two actually has a longer shelf life in terms of making the assessment of what's going on with the property. And I know we've had a number of conversations with property owners. We had some conversations this week with representatives of property owners in the downtown about phase twos. We're trying to really up the game in terms of getting a higher level of assessment because it's really, really difficult to market a property for redevelopment if potential developers don't know what the issue is. And I know a lot of property owners sometimes think that, well, you know, the developer, if they're interested, will, you know, they'll take care of it. They'll do the assessment. They'll take care of it. Well, not necessarily so. I mean, by the time a developer is looking at a community and seriously looking at a community, they're not just looking at that community. That community is on a short list of potential communities, and the more a site is shovel ready, the better chance you have of redeveloping that site. If you haven't done a phase one, if you haven't done a phase two, you're less shovel ready, so you're less desirable for a developer. There's also this school of thought that you know, the developer will absorb the cost of doing site remediation, of cleaning the site as a part of wanting the development. Yeah, they may do it if it's a low cost investment in doing it, but it also, if they're that interested in the site, then it's certainly going to reduce the value of the site, and that's just plain assessment appraisal methodology. That if you've got a site that you think is worth $1 million and there's a $500,000 worth of cleanup in it, then the site's only worth $500,000 because that's the appraised value. And while some folks may want to hold out for more, again, when it's development, you're in competition with other places. You're never the only site that any professional developers are looking at. So we're very much invested in it. We still have money to spend in terms of those grants, and we're still trying to induce property owners on the riverfront to join with this council in terms of redevelopment of the riverside of the riverfront properties. Council early on in the year, might have been toward the end of last year, council approved a riverfront redevelopment plan. And it was a full out assessment, and we again got grant money invested in an assessment and a plan for riverfront redevelopment. We think it's a very exciting plan. It brings, not only turns the city to the riverfront and creates public spaces and recreational spaces and commercial spaces and residential spaces along the riverfront. It makes it a very, very attractive place to to develop. But again, it's going to require that those property owners who we have a dialogue with and we think is a positive dialogue. It's going to require them to band together. It's going to require them to engage in this assessment process, this phase one, phase two process, so that we can know what we're marketing and the developers can know what they're interested in. And the other good news about it is there's no cost to it. If we find something, there's no mandate that from our standpoint that developer we're not going to DP is not going to come in, EPA is not going to come in. We need to find out what's going on. They're not going to come in and take any punitive action, but we know what needs to be done. And that actually puts us in a position to seek other funding to then do something about the problems that we find so that the riverfront can be redeveloped. I know Jay Masanye, our planning and development director, and I testified in front of a joint hearing of the state assembly last year about riverfront redevelopment for small towns, and we pointed and highlighted some of the issues, particularly in Norristown. And there's been discussion about a stream of money for small town riverfront redevelopment that we're very much with our lobbyists working on making sure that that happens. But again, for us to be able to take advantage of that, for us to get a project funded, it needs to be shovel ready. It needs to be as close to shovel ready as possible. So development doesn't happen when you're starting from ground zero when a developer comes. You really need to do the assessment. So I think it's still a very much a viable project. I know one of the questions that got asked in the recent discussions about riverfront development is how can that happen again with a sewer plant on the riverfront? And it is a challenge. There is no doubt about that. I know long before I came to Norristown, there was a study done about either moving or covering that sewer plant to stimulate and facilitate redevelopment of the riverfront. And back in that time, I think it's around 2009 or so when that happened. In 2009, it was going to be $180 million to move that plant. In 2000, and it was going to be $200 million to cover that plant. And so obviously that cost, probably hasn't gone down, and if it has, it's not gone down that much. But technology has improved, and one of the things that you look at in terms of considerations of being able to do some things about that riverfront, obviously in the myriad of information that this council had to absorb and even considering the sale of the sewer authority, is what's the more viable options in terms of our capacity for riverfront redevelopment in the town as a whole, as it relates to the utilities and the viability of being able to do the things necessary to make redevelopment in the downtown happen. And I think one of those considerations had to be how viable is it that the sewer authority as it existed could make that change, or how viable was it that a company like Aqua, who can spread its resources throughout its now, and the cost of doing such system improvements throughout the entirety of their network, that increased the viability of being able to do something like that. But we think that certainly if the owner partners down there are interested in partnering with us to do the assessments, and we can partner with Aqua to make the kinds of improvements at the plant, whether it's covering, moving, consolidating, whatever that is. If we can do those things, then we have a much better chance of redeveloping that riverfront. But it's an important project for this council, and one that we continue to be actively engaged in. Let me see. I'm going to scroll down and see if I see any other questions that I can respond to. Give me just a second. Um, I've got the playgrounds. All right. Okay. Well, there's a question that calls me Chairman Jones. I'm not the chairman. I work for the council. So I think one of the things let's understand about how local government works. I am hired by the council. The council are elected, and I'm hired by the council. I know that there's been a lot of questions or comments and innuendo about me leading the council to a decision point. And I think that's a disservice to the council. The city council is elected and they process a lot of information. And I know that they processed a lot of information, not only about the sewer authority project, about roads projects, about recreation projects, about redevelopment projects all over, just as the appointed boards, such as the zoning hearing board, the planning commission. They process a lot of detailed information as public participation in those processes. I think it is a gross disservice to council to think that they don't have the ability, or to allude that they do not have the ability to take that information, process it, and make their own decisions. There have been plenty of times that council hasn't agreed with recommendations from staff, and that's certainly fine. But I think folks should understand that a council works much like a public corporation. They're the board of directors. I'm the chief administrative officer. I run the day-to-day operations, but as far as policy decisions and the directions of this community outside of how day-to-day operations go, uh, those council members process that information, they analyze that information, and anybody who thinks that they're just being spoon-fed it's a real disservice to the hard work that any municipal council does in volunteering and processing the information that they have to process to make projects go. So I wanted to get that out. Um, I see a question about speeding. Again, if there are particular issues with speeding, if you notify us, you can send it to pio@norristown.org. If you notify us about an issue about speeding or any other issue, even if it's a trash issue or any other, pio at norristown.org. We'll get that information to the relevant department. When we get notices about speeding and other things, we actually then dispatch the police department to do an assessment of it, and if there's a need to install some kind of traffic calming measures, whether that be street signs or postings, temporary posting, permanent postings, and even we're looking at some other calming measures, we will do that. But if you let us know, we do. We responded to dozens of requests that have resulted in the installation of signs and the installation of other calming measures in police surveillance of the area, et cetera. So just let us know. Main Street paving is a question that just came up. So there is obviously you see a lot of utility work going on in town. I know that again, PICO and Pennsylvania American Water working on electric, gas, and water lines respectively to improve our power grid and improve the pipes and underground in the municipality. And please understand that the municipalities' utility systems are some of the oldest in the state. We know in terms of actual pipes under the ground, some of them, the system is 90 years old. Our sewer system, sure, it's 90 years old. So where you see those cuts, particularly in all areas, but including specifically, I got a request about Main Street. Those roads are going to be paved as a part of what's getting ready to happen once the utility work has been done. The streets are going to be paved. Our public works director Thomas Odenabo and I met about that. He briefed me about it. I guess a couple of weeks ago. That those Main Street particularly is going to be it's going to be paved. So that is on the way. Council is also authorized the paving, and it should be on that list of new paving for our 2020 round of paving. If it's not on this agenda, it might have been on the last agenda. I'm getting mixed up, but I know our paving program is active, and we've got our 2020 roads getting ready to be paved. I know Kevin will have that list up on our website in terms of the roads that are going to be paved. But Main Street is definitely on in line to be paved once all of that utility work has been done. And one of the things we do is our public works department works very, very closely with the utility companies to make sure that we coordinate our road improvement, our street improvement, whether it be paving or overlaying, with their utility cuts so that we won't pave a road and they go back and cut it. Now that will happen sometimes, obviously, if there's a break. But if they've got planned maintenance, we coordinate with them so that their planned maintenance coincides with our road paving program as well. So Main Street is definitely on the agenda to be paved. And I think that is a 2020 initiative if they finish their work, and I think it's scheduled to be finished and, by the fall, that the improvements in the paving of that road will happen in the fall. I have a question here about not someone who's not a resident, but we'll be in one in December, and would be interested. Would I be interested in doing a little free library in Norristown? Norristown already has a library, so I don't know if you know that. And certainly, if there's something you want to do in partnership with the library, you can certainly reach out to Kathy Yeager over at the library, and she can assist you. And I know that they not only in terms of the building itself, but they have mobile library units that move around the county, and certainly would want to work with you if you're interested in a library. Let's see, I'm looking. Marshall Street trash cans. We almost do empty them daily, and here's the challenge with that. And again, this is one of those behavior issues. I honestly believe that what's happening along Marshall Street, some of it is on Main Street as well, is that is not pedestrian trash that's being dumped in those trash cans on Marshall Street. That there are some property owners who are not adequately providing, as they should be, for their residential trash collection, and we're investigating that. Our coast department is working in conjunction with our public works department, and also with our current trash provider, Mascaro, and trying to identify this unusual activity. But we truly believe that not only trash from some of the businesses, but trash from some of the residential units above those businesses are being put in what should be pedestrian bins. And that's, again, one of those behaviors that property owners who should be providing for trash need to take care of that. As we identify those folks who are doing that, we are certainly going to prosecute and cite them, and we ask for as much help as we can in doing that. For those of you who don't know, and excuse me just a minute, for those of you who don't know, We have put out another bid for trash. We council bid trash. Last year didn't get. We only got one response, and we're operating now under a negotiated extension year with Mascaro. We just issued a bid a week or so ago for trash collection again, hoping that we'll get multiple bids. But we really, really are one of the things that was in that bid and is in this existing bid is actually to use electronic that activated solar trash compactor units, and I'm sure you've seen them in other communities where the trash can is actually a compactor, and you put it in, it crushes it down so that you can get more trash in, and trash trucks don't have to come through as often. The equipment notifies you when it's about to be full, and so you pick it up uh, in time. I think a combination of those units, if and council will be assessing it, we have it as an option on in this bid. Those units, as well as stronger enforcement and monitoring of who is actually putting trash in those trash cans, because that is not normal. That pedestrian traffic doesn't fill up trash cans as much as it does. That's residential and that's commercial traffic, trash, and it should not be in those trash cans. Uh, so thank you for that question. Let me look. I see a question about One Montgomery Plaza, and that's a question obviously for the county and not us. But we are monitoring that project. We will be inspecting that project through our codes department. We're working with them, with the county, in terms of that. I think their expectation, if things hold up, it might be in the fall when some demolition actually starts happening out there. But again, everything's kind of been impacted by COVID, and we'll have to see how that works. Uh, so I see a question, comment about apartments being ideal. One of the things that is the goal of redevelopment in the count in the municipality. The council is very much interested in stabilizing our neighborhoods for residential, single family residential development and redevelopment. The council annually is investing in programs for repair of homes for folks who can't afford to do them. Our home program, we have a $500,000 home program that we invest in every year for repair of homes. So stabilization of projects within the communities for single family homes is the priority. You'll see a lot of the development, like Sarah Peck's development. We want the kind of development like that where it's single family homes that very much mirror as much as possible the architecture of the community and where those homes are developed. Now, as far as downtown is concerned, and the issue is really is yes, let's try to create apartments, because one of the things we need in our downtown is density, and that's one of the ways in terms of getting not only property taxes from those type of developments, but also EIT and other ratables uh, to for people who live in apartments in our downtown to be able to ease the tax burden on homeowners and other property owners in Norristown. So the plan has always been create apartment like density in downtown areas. in areas where apartments exist, certainly to strengthen that. But single family within single family neighborhoods has always been the focus of the county. I mean, of the council, and it'll continue to be. Um, I see a question about Pico has completed their gas line replacement project. I know that they've completed it in some portions. I'm not sure if it's completed all over yet. I have an upcoming meeting with the Public Works Director with Pico about the status of their projects. But I assure you that once that work is completed, they're already talking with our Public Works Department about the scheduling to repair the streets where they've done work. So that definitely will happen. It is definitely underway. I think everybody, including construction work, except essential construction work, got delayed by the COVID process, which is why it's taking longer than it normally has. So I have a question about new revenue developed to sustain our taxes. One of the myths about local government is that there's this wide range of new revenue. Revenue happens in municipalities and local governments primarily because of redevelopment or development or redevelopment. So that's why so much of the efforts of this council has been at redevelopment, at investing dollars in redevelopment, and investing grants in redevelopment, so that redevelopment happens and can generate revenue for the community. Municipalities don't make products; we provide service, and so the efforts, certainly we've reduced our operating costs or kept them level, certainly so as not to further impact taxes. Again, a lot of what council is looking at in terms of the proceeds from that from the sale of that sewer is around relief for residents, whether that relief is in property tax stabilization, whether that relief is in possible reduction in EIT, which is a direct impact on residents' payroll taxes, whether that relief is in sewer in sewer rate stabilization. And understand this: if you're not investing in your sewer system, but investing in pipes in the ground and making sure that you're investing for capital project work for your sewer system, you're actually still doing a disservice to residents as well. But understanding that has to happen, the council also understanding it's very important that they mitigate as much as possible any potential rate increases that are going to happen at that. So there are lots of different fronts where you look at how do you generate new revenue. It's jobs, it's job creation, and it's economic development. And those are the things that this council has been focused on. Those are the things that this council is doing. There are going to be jobs created in terms of the project, our own project, in terms of redevelopment of Municipal. There's going to be jobs created in terms of what's happening with the county projects. There's going to be a number of other projects that are going on that are going to create jobs. But unless we stimulate redevelopment, that is where the main source of new revenue that comes to communities, and we're actively engaged in that. There's not a product that we're going to make that's going to generate any new revenue, because we don't do that. Um, I got a question about cars damaged by bad roads. If there's an incident with a road, you can reach out to our human resources department. Again, send a request to PIO at norristown.org if you might need to make a claim about a road. We have a risk management process where we'll turn it over to our insurance company, and there's a claims process you go through when assessment is done in terms of if there's a pothole or some other issues, trip and fall or some other issue related to municipal infrastructure that might have damaged a vehicle, you can make that inquiry. So I encourage you to do that. Um, Look again, see if I can see it. I have a question about keep Norristown beautiful to help citizens that been targeted by code enforcement. Well, we are actually, again, and that's a good question. Again, one of the things, and it's need based. I think it's income based. That's what Norristown has the home program for. So we do a lot of things where we help folks with weatherization. We help folks with chip paint every other year, and I think we this might be. I think next year is the year we work with this work program over the summer where we do between 60 and 70 projects with volunteers that come from this work program group that help paint, repair porches, do a lot of things with single family homes in town. So I'd again suggest go to info at PIO at norristown.org. Ask about what kind of assistance is there available for folks who have problems with uh, home conditions. We do a lot through that grant program. I think there's a bit of a waiting list. We do that. The real focus of Keep Norristown Beautiful is more about information and helping folks. We do provide resources for helping folks clean up the community. So it's not about working on people's homes. It's about helping folks clean up the community. And again, a large part of that is behavior based issues in terms of keeping the community clean. We're working with a number of groups. Our new Keep Norristown Beautiful director is Lisa Howdy Shell, who's on my staff. Lisa has got a project going on right now with I think she last told me I know in the teens, it might have been 19 when last we talked. Different neighborhood leaders that she's working with to do a community-wide cleanup project for neighborhoods. The most effective way to do cleanup neighborhoods in Norristown is through partnership, and for the communities, neighborhoods themselves to take ownership and work with us to do that. We provide gloves, we provide rakes, we provide bags, we provide coordination with Public Works, and we'll do cleanups, coordinate cleanups as we have numerous times with folks. But it starts with education and folks pitch it in. So again, on that question of helping with homes, reach out to Kevin at PIO at norristown.org, and he can point you to planning information with our planning department to get you connected into the program or get folks who need assistance in terms of home improvements connected to the program. That's a great question. Okay, I'm still looking. Alrighty. Okay, I don't see any additional questions that have come. I'll scroll back up just to look at. I can't believe I've been on for an hour. This always goes quickly. All right, so I don't see right now any questions. I generally hold this for an hour. It's gone very very quickly. I'm sorry. I appreciate everybody taking the time. We keep a record of this and disseminate it to all of the departments involved so that they can respond directly in terms of issues. that come up as a result of the chat, and we'll make sure that your questions get uh, answered and responded to. Um, Thank you so much again, everybody. Stay tuned as we put out information regarding both the winter, probably December relocation of City Hall, as we put out information regarding the council's sessions that they're going to get community input related to the use of proceeds from the sale of the sewer authority. And please feel free again if you've got any questions of me or any other department. Always feel free to send a letter to our PIO, Kevin Tustin, PIO at norristown.org. He'll make sure that those questions get answered and your issue gets responded to. Again, I appreciate your time and for in joining us for this. It's been great. You've had some great questions. Be safe. Take good care of yourselves, and I look forward to talking to you all real soon in the next chat. Take good care.
Bye, guys.
Log off.